Let's talk about Billy Carson again. I've made two previous videos. Anyway, introducing Billy Carson, the guy that made it somehow onto Joe Rogan. I never thought I'd ever search that or see that on the YouTube recommended page. Genuinely, I got a shock, the same shock that I got when I saw the first review for Sparking Zero. Like that's how shocked I was. But at the same time, you can understand, why Joe would invite him on. But yeah, introducing Billy Carson, and who I'm pretty sure is just a big grifter. But don't get me wrong, I'm starting off, and it sounds bad, but I don't hate him. I don't have any ill will towards him. So any roasting in the comments, any disagreements that you would have with me, I completely understand it because of the way I'm talking. But I do find him, interesting. I know that he's interested in the ancient past, and I know that we all just on our way to finding the truth about the ancient past. Who knows the truth? But what I find funny about him, the best way to put it into words is he ties the loosest ends together. Like there's all sorts of strings, and I don't know how to finish that analogy, but he ties the loosest ends together. Like it's not concrete, the things that he ties together, he just ties the loose ends together. Anyway, introducing Billy Carson.
I don't think people realize I take people on tour to the pyramid every single year. I take people on a huge tour. Last year we had 140 people on tour in Egypt for 12 days or whatever it was.
Yeah, I actually run tours. Yeah. 140 people. Yeah, it's pretty prestige. We go all sorts of hidden places, hidden entrances. I run tours. We actually went on a huge tour. I know hella secret people. By the way, do you know that I run tours? And, there's definitely spots available. There's definitely spots open. Joe Rogan podcast, 4.5 million viewers. You guys know I run tours.
Each individual stone at the pyramid is a different shape and size. There are no two stones that are perfectly the same. Each stone fits in an interlocking format. So you can't say, go over here and cut these stones, we're going to bring them over here and we're going to throw up this pyramid. It doesn't work that way. Each stone is made individually, specifically for the location that it's exactly in.
Because they all have to be at an angle. Because they're all going up towards this angle, so everyone has to be cut perfect.
Exactly. Wow. So they're interlocking stones, and there's no way to say just cut this cookie cutter out and we're going to bring them and hoist them in the spot.
And all of them are perfect.
All of them. And if you accidentally cut the wrong size or you're off by a few inches, you can't make the pyramid. You can spend a week or two getting a stone to a location that don't fit.
He's making it seem like every block on the Great Pyramid that was used was perfect. Like the first two layers are definitely perfect. But as you get higher in the layers, as you get deeper within the pyramid, it becomes rubble. It becomes less precise. It becomes sort of big stones that two people could carry. Do you kind of understand what I'm saying? Like the way he's describing it is accurate to a sense, but it's like, why not bring up the fact that there are maneuverable stones?
Now, what do you think about the other pyramids that are wonky? Like the ones that aren't perfect. Do you think that they were trying to duplicate the Great Pyramid? Do you think they were trying to make their own?
The deeper you go into antiquity, the more perfect construction was. The further you come forward in time, the more wonky and crazy things are and begin to fall apart.
So do you think they just forgot how to do it?
The knowledge was lost. You can see the evidence of the knowledge. By the time we got to Alexander the Great, have you ever been to Alexandria?
No.
I thought I was going to go see this incredible place. It looks like a bunch of crap, a bunch of piled up rocks, buildings leaning on each other, even the people living in apartments that are leaning, buildings leaning.
Oh, wow.
Everything there looks just, the stones are small. I could pick up those stones with my own hands. They tried to duplicate the majesty of ancient Egypt, but they didn't even come close.
So yeah, I need to show you a clip by a guy named Luke Stevens. He has a channel that I'll link down below. Super insightful channel. I would really recommend checking his videos out. But he reacted to the some clips of this podcast, and he just has a perfect response to what Billy Carson just said.
Everything there looks just, the stones are small. I could pick up those stones with my own hands. They tried to duplicate the majesty of ancient Egypt, but they didn't even come close.
Billy, you are 110% wrong about this. All of the literary evidence tells us that Alexandria was 100% absolutely the most stunning city in ancient Egypt. They did build structures on par with the Great Pyramid. The Lighthouse of Alexandria was built purposely to be exactly the same height as the Great Pyramid, and literary sources tell us that each of the stones were red granite Aswan stones taken from the same quarries of the blocks used in the King's Chamber, and each of the blocks weighed between 65 to 75 tons. stones. That's not even including the massive megalithic construction that was used in the Library of Alexandria. We have a plethora of literary sources saying this. When you go to Alexandria today, there are no remnants left of the ancient city because that city was the center of the world for about 600 years and was attacked by the Romans 5 times and burned down 5 times. And then it was washed away in one of the Mediterranean's biggest tsunamis in recorded history in 365 AD, and the city was completely and utterly destroyed by it. I'm not saying that pyramid building didn't get worse, but the idea that Alexandria was a giant pile of crap compared to the old kingdom of Egypt is just, well, it's indicative that you haven't read deeply about Alexandria at all. It is true that after the construction of the Pyramid of Menkaure, that pyramid building just got worse. How we explain that? Well, we don't know. I mean, that was at least 4,500 years ago, and we don't really know the nuances of what was going on at that point. But when you go back in time, you do see pyramids getting better over time. The Great Pyramid is kind of the epitome, but there are pyramids before that. There's actually Saqqara, Meidum, Bent, and the Red Pyramid. So there's at least 4 pyramids before the Pyramid of Khufu. But I still agree with him on that. However, he has never read any of the literary sources about Alexandria.
So with that, you can kind of see that Billy just doesn't look at the context of a lot of things. He comes to a lot of conclusions. He over-exaggerates to make his point. He's intellectually dishonest, intentionally or not, at certain points. Because how could you not notice these things? How can you not see the context? Unless he did see the context and he's, intentionally refusing to ignore it.
Now, when you hear the carbon dating of the Great Pyramid, what is your take on that? Because the radiocarbon dating is 2,500 BC, right?
Yeah.
That's what they think.
I just don't believe it.
Why is that?
Well, first of all, the way that the structure is made, if you look at other structures made in that same time frame, they don't have the same majesty. They don't have the same level of construction. They don't have the same capability of withstanding time.
Right.
So why are these falling apart, but this one isn't falling apart?
I feel like the reason the Great Pyramids, or the Great Pyramid and the 2 ones next to it, I feel like those aren't falling apart because they were just built very, very well. They were just built very, very well. There are a lot of old kingdom structures that are also not falling apart. But yeah, the pyramids are just crazy, and they were just built very, 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 very well. It doesn't mean that it wasn't built that time. Just because it was built very, very, very well doesn't mean it wasn't built.
The Queen's Chamber is technology. It seems to be like an electrolysis generating machine to extract hydrogen from water. And Chris Dunn had pretty close to the same hypothesis I had with that. Now, why hydrogen? It's the most abundant element in the universe. And right now, today, we try to communicate with ET on the hydrogen frequency. Now, those shafts, imagine on the certain alignments, we know for a fact that that pyramid aligns with specific planets or stars. Orion, Aldebaran, Draco, these alignments. And then these shafts would send out this hydrogen frequency, potentially, on my hypothesis, around those alignments. Why? For communication purposes. Updates on this breakaway civilization, because I believe there was an ancient galactic war, which I talk about in my show, my docuseries Anunnaki, and this ancient war created these space refugees, which then spread out around the Milky Way. Earth just happens to be one of the breakaway civilizations.
Come on, we know that the pyramids align with specific stars, therefore they were hydrogen-creating machines. And which of the pyramids were hydrogen-creating machines? Only the Great Pyramid. Was it only that? Or was the Great Pyramid and Khufu's pyramid? But I mean, I don't know, like, if it is possible that the pyramids were used to create some sort of chemical, the way that Billy Carson is explaining it, and the way that, it just doesn't make it convincing. The way that Billy Carson is explaining it and the way that he comes to his conclusions doesn't make it convincing. Like, at this point, it's like, no, it's like, it's making the might be plausible theory, hypothesis of the pyramids maybe creating some sort of chemical thing. It turns that irrelevant You could argue not, but it's like, at least in the way he's explaining it, because now it's like intergalactic war, sky people, gold to repair their atmosphere. I know he's gonna say this. Don't say that he didn't say it. I'm straw manning him or whatever. He said it in Proud podcast.
When I hear stories from the Bible or the Bhagavad Gita or the Talmud or any stories, like what was the origin? What were they trying to say? What were they documenting? What were they sharing in an oral tradition of the history of people and of the earth and of the heavens themselves? Like, what were they sharing? What were those things? How much of it was myth? How much of it was someone misinterpreted the original story and watered it down? But at the beginning of it, even at the beginning, there was light. It's literally like the Big Bang. It's literally just...
So yeah, that is a mystery. It's questions to be asked. Galactic space people, alien war, go to repair out their atmosphere, send space refugees, we one of the colonies. Buy more of my supplements, please. Buy more of my weird website products, please. Come on, do you know how I have a tour? Joe, I don't... You know I don't tours? I don't tours.
Just comet impacts, and that the ice age ended abruptly, and that all these areas, like this is where it was. This is where it went down, and this might be every fucking story that you've heard from the beginning of time. Epic of Gilgamesh, Noah and the Ark, all these stories.
It might be, but it doesn't mean the Galactic War is true with Anunnaki. It doesn't mean the Emerald Tablets is true. It doesn't mean Maurice Doreal actually went to the Great Pyramid in the early 20th century and recovered those Emerald Tablets and translated it himself. Doesn't mean that's true, but it is interesting. Okay, I'm getting pretty tired of listening to nothing, but yeah, it is kind of fun making videos about Billy Carson now and then. It's just funny to listen to what he says, as I said, but it gets tiring after a while because I'm learning nothing. Or maybe I think I'm learning something, but I don't know if I can trust this, because what's the source? What's the context behind like what you're saying? Anyway, I don't mean to like bore you guys with this shit either. But yeah, if you again find some enjoyment, a like would be appreciated. Tell me what you thought in the comments down below. Appreciate your time. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching.